This section of the book covers slavery and the making of American Christianity. In the previous section, I write about the fullness of history and how reckoning with history is both promising and difficult because it is a task that inspires and infuriates us. In these chapters of the book, what I find inspiring is the moral clarity and courage of the abolitionist movement. Black and white abolitionists such as William Lloyd Garrison, Maria W. Stewart, and James Forten appealed to the Bible and Christian principles to persuade a critical mass of American people to work toward abolishing slavery in the southern states and creating a more racially just society throughout the United States. They understood that this work entailed changing individual hearts and minds as well as reforming laws and systems so that African Americans could have equal access and equal opportunity to housing, education, employment, and ultimately the American dream. These abolitionists believed in American democracy, and they believed that American democracy in its fullest form would be possible only if slavery were abolished and racial prejudice was eliminated. They also believed in Christianity. They believed in a God of love and justice, and they believed that all things were possible as they talked, prayed, preached, and worked toward ending slavery. But what is infuriating about these chapters is the wickedness, sinfulness, and prevalence of pro-slavery Christianity. Pro-slavery Christianity is a seeming contradiction in terms. How could Christianity be for slavery? But to reckon with history is to understand that not all, but many Christians in this country were either for slavery, defending it with scriptural texts and Christian interpretations, or they were complicit and they stood by and did very little to nothing as slavery continued to expand throughout the United States. So these chapters are both inspiring and infuriating. But one last lesson I hope that we can learn from these chapters is that we would no longer determine or imagine that the greatest problem then was ignorance. What I mean by that is that there is an understanding that we have today, and I think this understanding existed then, that when we know better, we do better. So we imagine that these Christians and these Americans living in the 18th and 19th century, the reason they didn't do better is because they didn't know better. But what I point out in these chapters is that we will never understand the intricacies, the complexities, the horrors, and the depths of racial oppression with the sins of slavery and anti-Black racism in ways that they did then, because they were living then. So they understood the stakes. And so the task for us is to understand the stakes of what is happening in our lives, our communities, our nation, and our world today, so that we too might be inspired to enact a better future and a more just church and society for all who are living among us.